my channel. My name is Misty and today's video is all about how to have fun homeschooling. And before we get into the details of how to make homeschool fun, I do want to make sure that you subscribe to this channel for all the homeschooling content going on this channel. And the like button lets me know that this is a type of video you enjoy, so I know what to make for you in the future. Now let's talk about making homeschool fun. So first and foremost, guys, the very first thing I would say is don't take homeschooling too serious. Yes, homeschooling is important. Yes, you put your kids' education into your hands. Yes, your state probably regulates guidelines that you have to follow. But still, taking it too serious really drains the fun out of homeschooling. It puts way too much pressure on you and or your children to perform a specific way or to a certain level. The beauty of homeschooling is there's not a level to meet. That's something that I think we have in our own heads. There's not a level to meet. If your kid is considered technically a little bit behind or a little bit ahead, that is totally fine and normal, because what you're doing is catering to your child's educational needs and going at a pace that works for them, not for other kids or your state. So don't take it too serious. Make sure that you lighten up so that you have the room and availability mentally to be able to create a lot of fun. Another very important aspect of creating fun in homeschooling is to have child-led learning, interest-based learning. These are important things. So first, let's talk about interest-based learning. Let's say that you are teaching your kid about physics. Physics happens to be one of my favorite subjects in science, so I love to teach that, right? But your kid comes along and says, I really like astronomy. So now you're thinking, okay, I had this plan to do physics. My kid is now telling me they like astronomy, and I really don't know where to start with astronomy. So you kind of have a choice to make in this moment, right? And it could be too much for you to teach the two different subjects at the same time. And so naturally, I think as the adults, what we want to do is teach them the thing that we've already planned, already have mapped out, and that we enjoy teaching, right? But the truth is we should be also considering where our child's passions are lying, instead of being kind of stuck and feeling like you just want to go ahead and do what you were ready to do. Think about the why can't I? Think about the statement and question, why can't I? Why can't I teach astronomy right now? And we'll address physics later, right? It might be frustrating as the parent to change it up and go where the child wants, but at the same time, we're here to grow our child's passion for learning, not necessarily ours. So if your child is showing they have a lot of interest in astronomy, then we should probably pursue that. In our household, that's what we do. We pursue what the child would want instead of what I would want. That allows a child to get engrossed in a subject that they are passionate about, which means that they will have a lot more fun learning about that instead of if you were to reject, even if it was just for the time being. If you were to say, no, we're not doing your thing right now, we're doing physics, they're not going to be as passionate because their mind is already set on astronomy. So interest-led learning is really crucial to having fun. So make sure that you are hearing your child out and seeing what their interests are and going with that, even if it changes up everything you have planned. Now, child-led learning goes hand in hand with interest-led learning. So interest-led learning is paying attention, even if your child doesn't say it necessarily. I just used an example where they would say it. But even if your child doesn't say it, that's where interest-led learning is. You're paying attention to what their interests are and creating a learning lesson out of what they like. Now for me, child-led learning is a little different in the sense that it is your child actually handling the reins and you not initiating it necessarily for learning. So we recently had a child-led learning day where I was not the teacher, my daughter was. She thoroughly enjoys when we do these kind of days. And I do have that video, I will link it up here for you guys. But for those days, she is 100% in charge of initiating all learning and activities. This is great because then your child isn't just going with what you're telling them to do. They're actually pulling out the activities, the games, and the learning lessons that they want to go over. It doesn't necessarily have to be a day where your child is the teacher. That's just how we do it. But just letting your child have times to initiate their own learning. I don't personally believe in dictating the entire day and like being really like hammered down on a schedule. The way we do it is a little more flexible. I do have subjects that they have to do and they're non-negotiables, like learning to read and doing math. But outside of that, I let her pick the activities we will do, and I do have activity trays and sensory bins and just different things available. We also have a lot of nonfiction books all around the house that have a lot to offer for learning. So be sure to give your child those opportunities to lead their own learning, and with doing this, they will have a lot more fun. Also, if you're interested, I will have the activity trays and sensory bins linked below in the drop box. That way you can check those out if you're wanting to see ideas of what I mean. Just make sure that your learning space, wherever you're doing your homeschooling, is inviting for children to do child-led learning. Another important aspect to think about is to de-school not just your kids. We always talk about de-schooling kids, but de-schooling yourself. What does this mean? What does de-schooling mean? So de-schooling is a process that you would do where you would basically remove all previous notions of how to educate that are in your head and in your child's head that would have been taught to you by public school, private school, or by any type of your current standard schools in America. I personally don't agree with the way that learning is done in schools at the current time, and that is a big part of why we homeschool. So the problem a lot of times with schools in America is that it's a very standardized education where it's a one-size-fits-all, but we all know that children cannot grow and learn in the same way as everybody else. We have different learning styles, and we have different levels of comprehension. We have different things that might hold us back from learning. We might have things that are excelling us. There are all these different aspects, and that's the problem with current standardized schooling. Is standardized testing doesn't work for everybody, and it's not in this video. We won't get into why, but there are a lot of things about regular American standardized schooling that will really drag you down in the homeschool setting. Can you take away things from the regular schools that work for you in your homeschooling setting? Absolutely. If it works for you guys, then do it. The really rigid learning style in a school in America really is not conducive for every child. So I highly recommend taking time to really relax and remove all notions that you would have previously from the schools that you may have went to if they were standard American schools. And some people do this by taking a month off of even doing any teaching at all. Some people will start unschooling right away. There are different ways to do it, and there's many ways to look up how to do it, but just know that de-schooling yourself is extremely important in order to develop the schooling style that works for you and your family and allows room for fun and passion in education. Another great way to keep school interesting is to get out of your house. A lot of times we stay stuck in the house, especially if you're a stay-at-home parent. You tend to stay home a lot, most of us anyway. And a big part of keeping things from getting too stiff and also keeping you from going crazy, from being stuck in the house all the time, as well as your kids, is to get outside. Whether that's just going in your backyard every day, going for walks around the neighborhood, if that's all you can afford to do at the time, that works just fine. Now, granted, at this time, the current climate of health concerns will definitely put a damper on this, depending on how much you're limiting your ability to go outside. But with that aside, still I want to explain the things that you could do, which is take field trips as often as you can. That could be getting a membership to a local science museum or learning center. It could be getting a membership to a local conservatory. Maybe it's not getting a membership at all. Memberships are just great because then you can go repeatedly, like once a week, and have all the fun you want and get your money's worth. That's why I'm saying that. But also, maybe for a day you guys want to drive to another city over and check out their aviation museum. Maybe you want to go to something that is touring your city and they're just there for a night or two, and you want tickets to go to some sort of learning tour that is currently going on. No matter how you do it, get outside, get out of the four walls of your home that you're learning in, and have fun. Another important thing is have fun days set aside. You don't have to have a set schedule every single day. The way it works here is we do about 4 days of our learning schedule, and then we have 1 day of fun, which usually falls on a Friday, but it could be anywhere in the week just depending on what our needs are for that week. But I highly recommend just having a day where there's no agenda for learning and you guys can just do what you want, whether that's cuddling up on the couch, reading books together, whether that is doing a science project your kid has really been asking and wanting to do. Maybe you guys want to cook recipes together in the kitchen. Whatever that looks like, just have a day where there's no agenda and you just set aside time for fun. That also includes learning. And yes, cooking is learning. All right, those are some of the tips that I have for you guys for creating a fun learning environment. There are plenty of other ways to do it, but that's just the ones I have for you today. If you do enjoy this type of video where we talk about how to make homeschool fun, hit that like button so I know to make these videos in the future. Also, in the comments down below, let me know your favorite way to make homeschooling fun. I'd love to hear what you guys are doing. Also, do not forget to subscribe before you leave to stay up to date with all the homeschooling stuff going on this channel. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. I want you to have fun homeschooling, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.